the tales of the
I'm Jeremy Green.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where we talk about whether or not Mystique's toenail polish is part of her body or she just paints them after. What are we doing? What are we talking about so much? Gary,
Yeah.
what are we, like on the cover, she clearly has red toenails. I'm just saying.
And she has her outfit is torn up.
Yes.
If that's her skin, it would take a lot of work to like change her appearance to give herself dino damage.
Yeah.
Like that. And like that's dedication to the bit. You know?
Shapeshifters, man. Just a whole new world that we're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
We're back.
It'd be a cool power.
We're covering Wolverine issue number 65, the conclusion of the Get Mystique storyline. Wolverine has been on the trail of Mystique in the Middle East ever since she has betrayed the X-Men by turning over Hope, the first mutant born since the House of M event, over to Mr. Sinister so he can do nefarious things that he likes doing to babies. We don't really question it. It just Mr. Sinister does weird things.
DNA stuff.
Yeah, that's weird DNA stuff. Wolverine has been sent by Cyclops to kill her, but he has his own beef with her because in 1921 they had a heist and she betrayed him or something.
Yep. Or he betrayed her.
Yeah.
Or both.
Or something.
We're gonna get into it
Yeah.
this issue. Cover last issue, it was just a direct camera shot up Mystique's butthole. This one, a little something for mommy. We got a very ripped, sexy Wolverine back.
Yeah.
As he dives there in cutoff jeans, very like the pool boy or the farmhand.
But she's got them dogs
Wolverine.
out, so daddy's happy too. Like, we're good.
Yeah, everyone's happy.
Yeah.
You know?
This is I got to introduce, we've been talking about X-Files a little bit. I've got to introduce, Chris didn't know about the Red Shoe Diaries. So I got to, live on the mic, I got to introduce him to like the trailer of Red Shoe Diaries, and he was like, what is this? Like, what? There's no shows like this anymore. I'm like, dude, it was softcore pornography anthology series. I don't know how else to say that.
Yeah. Between that and Real Sex.
Yeah, the Real Sex
If we had
Stars.
HBO as a kid,
oh my God,
we were eating good, dude. It was in the 90s, if you wanted to not just watch porn, but kind of like try to find weird facsimiles of it.
Yeah.
You could do it.
You can do it. Absolutely.
Whether the lover is on Showtime or not, you can do it.
Thank you, Skidamax, for introducing me to.
Yeah.
Who was the big star of Skidamax? I used to remember her name, and now I don't anymore. Sharon.
I don't.
Not Sharon Stone, but I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I don't remember.
We're gonna start.
I remember watching Emmanuel movies from that, which are also just porn.
We're gonna start in 1921, where the Mystique's gang has been trying to rob the Federal Reserve, and the guy breaking into the vault is very quickly shot to death by the police.
Under false pretenses.
Under false pretenses.
This is they say like, oh, he's trying to escape, and he's like, I'm not trying to escape, and they shoot him.
And I mean, all he was doing was Fakealoo and Flimflam. Yeah, that to me doesn't seem like a death sentence. But what do I know? What do I know about Fakealoo and Flimflam? You know what I'm saying?
Not a damn thing. Wolverine's like, oh, did you hear that? That's gunshots. And the guy with the eye patches with Wolverine goes, it's a setup. Raven sold us out. And he runs after. He's like, I'm going to go get her. As the big lady and the little guy are also getting shot. Everyone's getting shot.
Everybody dies.
Yep.
Then we jump over to the present, where if you listen to last episode,
this happens. There's a little bit of plausible deniability here. Wolverine shows up and sees the cops, and the cops go, welcome to the party. And you think maybe they're going to beat him up or something.
Yeah.
Like, this is the misdirect here. Like, we think that maybe he's going to kill all these cops. Then we go to the present. And this is where Mystique has taken paint that may have come from her clothing and wrote, come and get me, Logan, on the side of a truck.
Her flesh paint. He has found a ninja suit. So he's on hands and knees doing his Tom Cruise Mission Impossible crawl over to her. But unfortunately, he doesn't realize that he's playing Metal Gear Solid 3, and he's up against, is it 3 with the boss? I've never played any of these games, so I don't actually know. I just know.
Yeah, 3 does have the boss. There are also ones where he gets sniped. If it's 3, this is bad camouflage.
Okay.
Because he's just on gravel,
Ground.
but he's in a black suit.
Yeah. But presumably it's night. I mean, she's using night vision, whatever.
But
he didn't know he should put in controller 2. Like, that's a thing that happens to Metal Gear Solid. So
you're killing it.
I'm sure. For a guy that's never played but one of those games, look at me go.
You're fine.
He's also exploded. She has like a front towards enemy explosive device and blows him up. So it blows all of his cool black clothes up. But she is up on like a balcony somewhere, completely naked, with a sniper gun, and shooting at him, throwing grenades at him, just trying to murder this dude as hard as possible.
Yeah, he runs through all the fire, runs at her and dives at her, and we start our fight here.
Yes.
This knockdown, drag out fight. And I love this little bit where Wolverine's like, "Aren't you gonna do the thing where you turn to all my old girlfriends just to throw me off?" Very funny. They've fought so many times and she's done that every single, like, I don't know, maybe Miracle will work.
Also, I bet she can't do that to Thor, right? Like,
oh yeah, just Jane Foster, and then that's it.
And that's it.
Know?
Yeah, like I'm just like at a certain point. But like, imagine her fighting just like anybody she didn't know, and like turn it into like a brown-haired girl, and they're like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah,
and she's like, it's your third grade crush. Like, this is what she looks like now.
It's got to be a slap in the face to Thor that like she can even do that better with Cyclops. And
absolutely.
Like turn to Emma Frost and Jean Grey and Madeline Pryor.
God, even Daredevil has more X's than Thor. Like who has less X's than Thor?
Thor is the most celibate Avenger.
Dude.
They should do a miniseries called Thor the Celibate Avenger that's just about him in Asgard not having sex.
Even Vision had a fucking rebound wife and a family.
Yeah. He has multiple partners. Mystique could fight everyone better than Thor.
Absolutely.
Yeah. She goes, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to kill you. It's for serious this time.
I love this 12 panel page of like 12 equal panels.
This is good.
Where they're just fighting. She's got a dagger. He's obviously got his claws. You could read this as super horny, I think, with the biting. And I'm kind of here for it. Like, these are two people that like Daredevil got into a little bit of this too with Electro, especially on the TV show, where like they're just like beating each other up and kind of getting sexy about it, which I think
it's a little erotic fight.
Yeah, it's
with
a little
stabs.
Erotic fight fiction, and I think everybody's kind of here for that nowadays. And eventually they kind of break, and like it's time to chat, so she has to cover her tits, like she has to like put her arm, and I'm like, why? Like you don't
modest,
and she kind of says
the artist couldn't come up with a plausible way to cover this in the framing, but they also wrote themselves in this corner by making her naked.
Yeah, it didn't have to be naked at all. Like so strange.
Yeah, she could just make a bra. She could make two seashells pop out of her skin. She stops and's like, before we do this, I intend to finish this, but don't you want to ask the question about what this is really about? He says, you know what this is about? And she says, no, you think that you know what this is about. It's about revenge for betraying the X-Men for the fourth or fifth time, but that's not what it is. You want to know why I've never embraced your friendship and family, why I've never like joined the X-Men. You had a chance to be kind of a shithead and become a superhero. I never did it. That eats away at you. You want to know why. And she says, basically, like, I'm never going to do that. I just use the X-Men, and neither will you. You're lying to yourself. You will betray the X-Men eventually.
I mentioned this in the last issue. This none of this really pays off in any kind of way for me. So there's like the back and forth of, maybe they betrayed each other in the past or whatever, but like maybe you're chasing me for your own personal reasons. But then she has this whole thing, and I'm like, I very seriously doubt Logan's like sitting around and going, why is it Mystique and the X-Men? Like, it just doesn't seem like a very Logan thing to do. And I just don't think like anybody expects Mystique to join the X-Men. And I don't know where like people, maybe there was some other stuff going on with Mystique at this time in the comics that I'm not aware of. But at the same time, it doesn't make any sense. And
this would make sense coming from different people. Like this would make sense coming at Rogue, maybe, who has more affection. But part of the whole point of this comic is like, Wolverine and Mystique have a history. They've always been a little bit vague about it. And this is making it a little bit concrete. But it's not like she's a major foil to him.
Yeah.
She doesn't show up. Like, I don't think Wolverine thinks about her very much at all, in general.
This would be the classic time for that Don Draper line for Wolverine to deliver, like, I don't think much about you at all, like in the elevator.
Yeah. And just Mystique just kills herself right there, just absolutely dead.
But no, instead, we get to talk about more weird shape-shifting facts, because as she's saying this, she reaches into her butt pocket.
Oh my God.
Which is a
gross.
little pocket, like a reverse kangaroo pouch, like just in the small of her back. And she just reaches in there and gets a gun. So many questions. So many.
Yeah.
Questions.
So he stabs her in the gut at the same time she shoots him in the mouth, bypassing his adamantium skeleton, going directly into his head.
Yes.
And she falls down bleeding. She falls down. A real weird thing. She pukes a bunch of like stuff that does not look like puke. That's kind of blood, but it's also real thick and weird.
Yeah, I didn't know if this was an artist like thing who just can't draw puke or something, but because it looks almost like she like alien symbioted
Yes.
him. As someone who just played
Like, she's
Spider-Man
gonna-
2, this very much looks like what they did for the symbiote stuff. So.
It's like how a wasp makes a nest.
Sure, yeah,
When
yeah.
she's going to turn a wasp, make a wasp nest out of his face or something. It's real weird. Right before this happened, she said, you'll betray them. Lord knows you've done it before. We cut back to the 20s, and this is that little twist where like they're going to shoot Wolverine, and they're like, oh wait, you're the one who's on our side. The fun's over. Stand down. He says Raven got away, and she's like, we got everyone else. It's fine. Here's your cut, and gives him some money. The idea here being that Wolverine betrayed the group, not Mystique, like you think. He takes the money and he leaves, but then he goes and gets on a train, which also happens to have Mystique on it, and they have this kind of little final conversation. And this is where I think it gets a little confusing to me. The idea that Wolverine used to be a shitbag who would have betrayed that team, to get money, fine, and has grown. But here, when they're talking, Mystique is like, I don't blame you for this. You made a smart play. And he says, I wouldn't have been able to sell everybody out if you had paid off the cops like you said you were. That's weird, right?
Yeah, I don't quite know what the twist here that they're going for is. Like the idea that Wolverine, I guess, took money from the cops that weren't getting paid so they could get revenge on her crew who wasn't paying them the way they were supposed to. Like, it seems relatively convoluted for the cops, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
To pay a guy to like convince her to rob, but it was especially because all we see on screen is her convincing him to rob the Federal Reserve. Like, he doesn't seem pretty enthusiastic about it at all. So all of this stuff, again, it's just very much like the back and forth that we had. It just never doesn't really pay off in any kind of significant or way for me.
The order of operation of events, as far as I could tell, would be Mystique convinced Wolverine to do the job. Wolverine went to the cops to try to sell out the team and was able to, which he was expecting not to be able to because they were supposed to be paid off. But he was actually able to, and then he ended up screwing him over. He acts shocked in the bank moment, though, that everything's happening that way.
I think
it's confusing.
I think the shock comes from, and this is not in the text at all, but I feel like we're supposed to know this because it's Wolverine and he's an honorable dude, even in the 20s, that he's shocked that the police just murdered these people, right? Like,
yeah,
like it was the gunfire that surprised him. He was like, oh, I thought they were just going to arrest all of these people. I was going to get paid. Because when he walks out with the money, he looks over and like the dead body is there and he's like, oh.
Yeah.
But again, like, you should probably write that or show that in some significant way. It's pretty hidden as is.
And it's more complicated than it needs to be.
Also,
if Wolverine had just betrayed the team and that was the idea, he was actually the shithead, you would have a story. Because he's done all this growth that we've seen because we've known his character from this time. He is proof that you can be redeemed. She's saying you can't be redeemed. You're always going to be that shithead you were in the 20s. That kind of still happens in this. It's just muddled a lot. It's more complicated than it needs to be.
Also, like, if we're jumping back to the future, like, what is Wolverine supposed to be mad at her for? Like, we never get the answer to the question, like, why is he taking this one so personally? Is it just hope? Like, we just never learn, like...
Well, I think the implication is it's the revenge for this heist thing.
Yeah, but like...
But again, he had a lot of culpability in that. It's not her fault that the cops shot the people.
Yeah.
That made it into a murder spree that he maybe didn't want it to be. So it's messy.
Unless it's the next page. So they talk about this in the train thing, and she's like, hey, he kind of confronts her. All your talk about family and stuff, and it's all just bullshit. And she's like, maybe, I guess, we'll never find out because you betrayed us. And then she says, hey, I don't want to end things like this. Like, let's be buds. We can go along our merry way after this train ride ends. Like, let's just shake and move on. And he's like, fine. And he turns his back on her and she kicks him off the train. So maybe he's just real mad about
patches him.
Yeah, she fucking patches him. Yeah, which is extra funny. Maybe that's where he got the name. Again, Mystique. When you played Demon Souls in 2009, tell me how you felt.
She
about
just saw patches
that.
and was like, whoa. Yeah. So I don't really get that, and it's I kind of like have to unfocus my eyes to make it the more simple story that I think would work better. Where it's just an uncomplicated betrayal, that he did, and that like the whole point is Wolverine then went on to be a hero and she didn't. That's fine. That's all I need.
We jump back to the present, where Wolverine is healing, obviously, from this headshot, and the entire time he's thinking like, "What's it like being brain dead?" This is the stuff that really works for me. Like, this page is really, really great, despite everything else around it. And he says, I think he says he's like, I'll be sneezing bullets out of my nose for weeks or something, which is really great. And then he wakes up with this like one central thought finally, which is just like kill Mystique. And he walks over to where she is, and like here's the moment where like you can get Mystique, and instead we have this like kind of bullshit comic book ending because like we can't kill Mystique in the 4-issue miniseries. So what we get is Wolverine doing this like long protracted thing, which is, I'm just gonna leave you here and I'm gonna go get my friends to take care of me. You don't have any friends, so you're just gonna sit here and while you're dying, and eventually you'll figure out what this gun I'm gonna leave for you is.
Yeah,
the implication
you're gonna bleed out, and of course you're gonna shoot yourself.
Yeah. But also he lives in a world full of supervillains coming back to life constantly, and like, what are you doing?
It's
very unsatisfying as an ending, I think.
It's not entirely true that Mystique has no friends. Also, Mystique can be anybody.
Yeah.
So if she can get to a payphone, there's a payphone. If she can get to a payphone, she's fine. It's just the plausible deniability. I can understand Jason Aaron wanting to write this story and not having the freedom to actually write off a major
murder
villain.
Mystique. Yeah.
So it's like it ends the only way it could have. It's definitely a storyline that I think is significantly better until the end.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like the ending of it is the weakest sauce that it gets. So yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. Like it doesn't end the best way, but I mean it's fine.
It's fun.
The
fun.
The ride is
monologue shit.
The ride is way funner, right? Like I mean, the first 3/4. I was gonna say, I'm trying to think of a movie that like the first 3/4 is fun, and then like the ending just like shits the bed. But I feel like that's most movies nowadays. Overall, I really enjoyed reading it. Like I think the art is, which you described, I think it's like workmanlike. I think was good enough to like, especially during the action scenes, to really get me through it. The writing, when it was just Wolverine kind of thinking about his problems, I thought was very funny and good. A lot of shape-shifting questions have been asked, and I think that's always important when you have a shape-shifting character in there. And
we must know.
Yeah, and it's 4 issues, and like it fits in this like kind of dream state of comic books where you almost want it to be like a what-if issue, where you could end it by killing Mystique, and it doesn't matter because we just killed Mystique. Like we don't have to worry about resurrecting her later.
Yeah. So. It's the thing we were talking about. Like, I want this just to be a story that happens in a time in Wolverine, and then you could just have her shot, and then just later say like she came back better.
Exactly.
Who gives a shit? As I get older, I care way less about continuity.
Oh God, me too.
And more just about good stories and wanting things to take place in these kind of time realms like this. It's fun. It's a good way to do stories. It allows a lot of freedom in how you tell stories. Like, I don't know. I find being a continuity wonk exhausting, and I don't want to do it anymore.
It's one of those things where like I appreciate, like I read a lot of the Comic Book Herald. Shout outs to all of those dudes over there, Dave and all of his ilk. They create like very specific, like they are hardcore into the continuity. Excuse me, it's a weird word that I have trouble saying. And when I wanted to read like Secret Wars 2015. They had literally like a month by month breakdown of every issue that came out, where to read it, should you read it, should you skip it, like that kind of thing. And I really appreciate that works great for people. And when I want to dig in, like I want to dig in. 90% of the time, I don't want to dig in. I just want to have a cool story that I'm reading on a comic book. Like I just don't care that much about it anymore. Although I gotta say, knowing that like Hickman is leaving the X-Men now, and like there's going to be this big like ending thing, makes me want to read all of that stuff even more now that there's an ending. So yeah.
I told you I started to reread, and I fell off around the same place I did. There's just a place where it gets a little bit like a little too much for me, and I just don't read enough of the side titles because they're not as good. What's a weird thing is like I obviously I'm Marvel comics prefer. I don't really care for DC comics, but I think DC is actually better at that.
Oh really?
Than Marvel is. Like Batman is really good about not caring about continuity shit. Just having things take place in a time in which Batman
even
existed.
The movies, dude. Like the movies are like, fuck it, it's a reboot.
Yeah, just treating them like, what Batman is. Here's a Batman story. I really like that. Like there's times that I do get something out of continuity. It's not like I want to jettison the whole thing. And because DC does that also means they have to constantly be doing stupid crises.
Sure, yeah. And
everything, which is dumb. But I don't know. I like that a lot. The ultra meticulously plotted Hickman stuff can be fun, but I also just want a 6-issue X-Men story.
Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely agree. Have you seen? I didn't know this. I haven't watched the new Flash movie, and I probably won't at any point in my life. But I guess there's a Nick Cage cameo as Superman finally in that movie.
Yes, fighting a giant spider.
Yeah, have you heard his comments on that?
Yes.
Okay. I just think,
I watched that. I read that EV Club thing
yeah,
about it.
I just found it kind of fascinating that he was like, "Yeah, I didn't do any of that. I came in with a specific thing, and they just changed all of that stuff. And it's it's not AI, it's like CGI or whatever. But like, I didn't do any of that stuff. It just feels so shitty.
I went in a room and they just took an image of my face.
God damn! I just can't imagine like if somebody did a podcast that had my voice on it, being like, Black people suck. I'd be like, that's not what I did. I didn't say any of those.
I didn't do it.
I said all three of those words separately, not in a sentence, but like, just so horrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you everybody for listening. We're going to be back next week with a not announced or decided on series of comic books. We'll let you know as soon as we start recording that issue, that episode, what that's going to be. I guess you could probably look at. I think we still have a Twitter. I haven't deactivated that yet, so you could probably follow us on Twitter if you wanted that story. But whatever. If you're into us, you're going to be into whatever we cover anyway. So thank you for being into us. If you want to support us, go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. You still have a couple of weeks before Duckstream, which is December 1st through December 3rd, where we're going to be streaming live. We're going to have a bunch of people streaming a bunch of video games and shenanigans in an effort to raise money for Transactive, which supports trans youths. Probably our 9th or 10th year doing that. Very exciting stuff. Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate everyone who has ever tuned in and donated. If you can't donate, we understand. Please spread the word. Yeah. This episode actually will come out during it, I think. It's going to be the weekend before, I think. This is gotcha. November 25th. Yeah, it'll be next weekend. Yeah. So you can still, and you can even donate afterwards. But if something happens, you can't donate. That's fine. We understand. Spread the word. Please do. Signal boost, restream, tell people about it. Tell people on social media. Social media is a bit of a shit show right now. Tell people on Blue Sky. Yeah. You need to go on X. Make a Blue Sky. You got 40 followers on Blue Sky. Let them know. Hey man, I'm up to like, actually I haven't logged into Blue Sky in a while. Like I've got every one of those things. I'm like Mastodon and fucking all of them, and I just don't even pay attention to any of them anymore. It's horrible. Doing okay on Blue Sky. I'm rebuilding. Like 650. Okay. Or something like that. Well, brag about it some a little bit. Yeah, brag about it. Slowly rebuilding. Get you some. Rebuilding. I just want there to be an alternative. I just don't want to have to go back to Twitter. I don't care about the numbers. I just want the same experience without dealing with that. Yeah, absolutely. So anywho, thanks everyone for listening. We appreciate you. Yes. And we'll see you next week with something. We are not even nearly. We don't know what we're doing. We haven't even started talking about it in the channel. Maybe. No. Yeah, we're not there yet. We're still recovering from hiatus. So bear with us. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.